say I'm backstage with one of the most precious of all the groups, the Jewel in the Crown. I'm with Phil of the Diamonds, and you're telling me about how you started out singing. Your first gig was in a church as part of a old-fashioned minstrel show?
Minstrel show, yeah. And they'd heard about us some way, shape, or form. We were amateur. We hadn't done really anything other than sing in our living rooms. And we did the minstrel show. And they put us on last. And we brought the house down with 2 of the 3 numbers that we knew at the time.
And you decided to continue working?
Well, when you hear that, I mean, the people were applauding and standing.
You got hooked.
Yeah, because we hadn't had any of that up to that point.
Now, did you guys never sang on a street corner like they did in America? You guys from Toronto, right?
Yeah, we're from Toronto, but we sang on the subway.
Yeah.
And in restaurants, having lunch, we start singing a little bit. We noticed out of the corner of our eye people looking our way, making a goo-goo eye. It was great.
Well, you know, I come from Chicago where ethnicity is very much marked, and I looked at your last names. You guys seem to be of different ethnic backgrounds.
Oh,
Did you meet in school? Is that it?
No, 2 of us met in first-year engineering, University of Toronto. That's me and Teddy.
And you are an engineer now,
Yes.
is that right? That's great.
I've been an engineer for 35, 40 years. Yeah, and so we met. Teddy had known Bill from before. He sang with him. So the 3 of us got together. And we sang, it was fun, and then we had a friend of mine, was actually our 4th guy. He's now a lawyer. We went to try out for a talent show on CBC television in Toronto, and we were nervously practicing in the hall, and some fellow walked by and turned around and walked back. And he started to talk with us, and he said he liked what we were doing. We shouldn't try the show, we're not ready. He'd like to be our manager, and that guy was Dave Somerville.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right. And he, my friend, who had been our lead man, that thing I told you about at the
church.
At the church, the minstrel show, my friend couldn't make it. He had an exam the next day. So Dave, who's a fine trained singer, took over, and he was with, that was the 4 of us when we had this terrific ovation. So we said we're going pro right after the show. We just were first bloom of enthusiasm. Asked my friend about it, and he said no, he's sticking with law. So that was it, the 4 of us.
That's amazing. How did you get your Chicago connection with Mercury Records?
We got a manager, a real manager, and he took us around. He got us into New York. We sang for our supper about 50 miles outside of New York. And we went and we did the Arthur Godfrey show, and we tied. We won it with somebody else, classical pianist, and so we're on there. And as a result of that, we got a contract with Coral Records. Nothing much happened. So our manager got smart. He heard about the most powerful disc jockey in America at the time, and this was Bill Randall in Cleveland. So we went to Cleveland, and Bill Randall. We auditioned for him, and he said he thought that we could do something, and he spoke to Mercury and got us an audition with Mercury.
In Chicago, or?
In Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's when Chicago was where, they had record companies at the time. Yeah, Record Row and all that. Yeah. Well, that's exciting that, you guys have that Chicago connection. And then you decided to cover a song by the Gladiolas.
Yes, sir.
And the rest is history. Well, yeah. I'll wait and let Dave tell me something about it, but I sure want to thank you for enlightening us on how the group started. It's one of my favorite groups of all time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, we'll be right back.
Can I borrow your pension?
Sure.
And there was another group, they were putting on Porgy and Bess in Toronto at that time, back about 53 or something like that. And we went to this hotel, and so there must have been 10 to 15 of us, all the Platters, us, and the group, the Porgy and Bess group. And Billy will probably remember the guy's name. Anyway, we had a marvelous time. We sang till about 6 in the morning. We were drinking and singing and just singing anything that came up. It was marvelous. What a great time. And never saw Tony again of the Platters.
Oh.
He went downhill. What a marvelous voice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the original. Diamonds, I got you on tape. I was recording that story.
Go ahead.
Is it all right? I wanted to ask you about Little Darling, how you guys decided to do... first of all, can you repeat what you say in the thing about the Latin beats and, you know, the introduction that you give, because it's great. It's so, informative.
Sure. Let's see, February the 3rd, 1957, we added a 5th song to a 4-song session. And it got to be 3:45 in the morning after 3 hours and 45 minutes of recording. We forgot about the song. The drummer went home and the other musicians left. And then our manager said, hey, that song, Little Darling, that you learned this afternoon, let's do that. We have to do it in the next 15 minutes because otherwise the musicians are going to overtime. So we did one take on it. We started the take in F, and it was too low, remember? We raised it a half a tone, and just at 4 o'clock we were finished with it. And then it came out 5 days later. Bill Randall, we were in New Orleans at the on the Sheffman Tour Highway at the Glass House, I think.
No.
No, where?
Alpine Village.
No, that was
No, in New Orleans when it came
New
out.
Orleans, oh, it's the Ferry Club. The Philly Highway?
Yeah.
That's the highway, that's right.
Yeah. No.
Nope.
That was Fort Lauderdale.
I can almost... never mind.
And who you did the lead?
Yeah.
Dave, you did the lead, and you did the bass. My darling, I love you. And who was doing the I? All right, boy, that was such a great. And then you say it was the first Latin influenced song.
It was the first hit on 45, the first rock and roll record pressed on 45. First record pressed on 45.
And we were the first group to make the R&B charts. White group.
Is that right? Were we the first? I'm not. Well, that might have been Bill Haley. Wasn't Bill Haley the first to make one? But we had 7.
Probably.
We had 7 records in the top 15 on the R&B charts.
Oh my God!
Which most people don't.
Well,
know.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know that. I know the Stroll was a major thing, and that there was the line dance of the century, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what were some of the other hits that people would know? Because we have a lot of people who love R&B.
Well,
Church Bells May Ring.
Walking Along.
Church Bells May Ring. Oh
One
yeah.
Summer Night.
Waterfall's So Low, we covered Frankie in that.
Yeah. Silhouettes. Yeah.
Getting down.
Love,
Yeah.
love, love.
Love.
Zip, zip.
Zip Zip. Not one of my favorites.
Steve Allen's favorite, though.
Yeah, see, that's right. That's right.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
he made fun of it.
It was the first rock and roll record with a Latin
yes,
beat.
Because you're my Zipset.
It was a great record. I mean, it was nonsensical in a way, but it was really neat in another way. You know what I
We
mean?
were very serious about that.
Huh?
Take that.
And you know what Maurice says too?
What's that?
He says that as opposed to most people who were covered, that you guys were friendly, etc., that they asked permission to cover the song, and that he got paid for that song, as so many people didn't get
Right.
paid.
So maybe we shouldn't get a bad name for being a cover group. I think we were a catalyst to rock and roll. You know, we brought black music to whiter ears, and we were part of that thing called rock and roll, the child of rhythm and blues.
And I got to tell you, it is such an honor to be with the original members of the group here in the dressing room and to be able to talk to you and ask you these questions. I told you I'd only take a couple minutes of your time, and that's all. I know you're going on, but thank you so much. Really, thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank